Okay, class, so we've gone through all the preparatory things. We now have our sample mounted. You can do it flat or whatever. We've put it on a rigid board hanging on a wall to give you a more realistic example of what it would be like doing a wall, standing in front of a wall. Later on, as this develops, we'll shoot an entire wall being done and then eventually an entire room. So that there's tons of stuff to learn here. So please don't think that we're going to be able to teach you how to do all the things in one little clip. There'll be tons of clips and it's an ongoing education. Okay? So what I've done is I've mixed a gallon of Venetian plaster and bare Venetian plaster, the stuff that you get at the local Home Depot. I'm making sure that the sample is secured to the wall. You notice that it's all flat and level. Alright, so then here's our trowel that I'm going to be using. We like the Venice tool trowel. We're looking for a source right now for the Venice tools made in Italy. So anybody seeing this, if they know of a great source, we're always wanting to buy a couple of hundred. So okay, so anyways, we've prepped the blade. You've seen that in the other videos, hopefully, prior to viewing this. For those of you that have jumped right on in. We have a trowel here and it's been prepped and we're going to load some Venetian on it and put the first coat of a 5-coat demonstration for you. What we want to do is to put a 100% base coat on without going too crazy. Okay? There's a lot of ways to do it. We can put it on real artsy, or we can put it on as just as level as you can. It really doesn't matter because this is one of 5. The only thing you don't want to do is leave a great big chunker. And so that being said, on a first coat, this would be the amount of material that you would want on your trowel. And your trowel should look like this through the whole duration of the job. I'll show you what I mean as we go. Okay, so here we go. We'll start from any corner because we're going to randomly overlap all of the successive coats. So we'll put it on. Okay, as I was saying, we are going to put it on, take it off, 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 put it on, take it off. There's nothing more to it than that. Put it on, take it off. If you want to cover these heavy spots, just go back over it. It's not that big of a deal because remember we're going to put on 5 coats. Do you have to worry about all these nuances? No. Matter of fact, you're going to want some. Should you cover this up that's super light? Well, you might struggle with 5 coats if you're putting on thin coats to cover those. So before your material sets up and you want to put a little bit more on, you certainly can. So, but there's ample opportunity in the 5 coats to do that. Basically, you want an overall 100% coverage on the first coat. You can add these little skip drag nuances and little fancy things in there. All those things are just going to help to build your finish. That being said, we'll now scrape this off of the trowel using another spatula or putty knife or whatever. We'll place it back in the bucket and then we'll carefully clean the very sharp edge of our trowel, and then we're ready for coat number 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the hot Arizona sun. It'll dry up in about 3 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, so that's been about 5 minutes now. I was instant messaging another student. Alright, so we've hung it back up. It's now dry and our trowel was clean from the last time, as you noticed. And so we're now going to put a small amount of material on the trowel and we'll apply coat number 2. Now what you want to do in coat number 2 is you want to randomly apply little patches, put on and take off, put on and take off, that overlap, let's say 20-30% of the leading edge. Don't get too scientific. I want it to vary all the time. You want it to vary. So put on and take off, put on and take off in sections. I'll do it now as we're doing these. Please remember that little nuances are okay, and you'll begin to see the nuances that are basically high raised points and low versus low points As the trowel goes over them now, like for example, let's hold on one quick second and I'll show you something. Let me take this plain spatula and let me burnish the sample on number 1 real quickly. And you're going to see the nuances that I'm talking about, the little skip drags and all of the business that's going on there. So those now will begin to show through all the layers. If I had not burnished that, they would still show through because my trowel is going to burnish that. Okay, so I'll start on an opposite corner. You don't have to. You start on the same one. You just want to vary it. So if you put on big ones the first time, put on medium ones now. And what I mean by that is these put on takeoffs. So maybe if they were that size on the first one, maybe the next one you do, maybe you do some smaller ones, or maybe a little overlapping stuff. Okay, and don't be afraid to come at it from different angles. And I know there's a lot of conversation going on the forums currently on how a person holds the trowel. Well, this stuff is almost so effortless. You'll see me hold the trowel when I turn it with just very little pressure, because all we're doing is putting on, taking off, putting on, taking off, putting on, taking off. The only thing that you don't want to do is to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, because you know the human eye can pick up repetition really easy. So if you just vary it a little, you don't really even have to try to vary it. If you just vary it a little bit, okay? If you notice, I'm not really putting a whole lot of movement into this. Now, as you notice, that sample, now I didn't put any more material, and we're going to put this right back in the bucket. You know, the truth is, the 5 coats will barely take more than that material right there to do this. What is this, a 2 by 1.5 sample? Okay, so that being said, there are a lot of people out there that are trying to tell people that, synthetic plasters this and synthetic plasters that. Well, let me tell you something. I use synthetic plasters every single day of my life practically, okay? So I've cleaned the trowel, okay? Ready for coat 3. But as I'm talking here, let's let this dry up just a tiny bit. And you will notice that with an unprimed sample board and 2 very thin coats of bare Venetian plaster applied in the way that I do it, which is exactly opposite of what the bucket tells you to do. They tell you to put on 2 thick coats, creating some valleys, overlapping, filling in, and then burnish. We hardly ever burnish. That's another story. That'll be another series. Like I told you before, there's going to be so many series. You're going to know everything that I know. You will be able to do this in anyone's home, anywhere in the world, that I guarantee you. Assuming you have the physical capability to do that much volume of work. That's another series. Okay, so now, as this is drying, we are almost to a sellable product. I've seen a lot of Venetian plaster samples out there, and they don't have the action that this one has right here with 2 coats. Now, can you imagine what this puppy's going to look like with 5? That's where we're going. And we'll let this dry out in the sun for about, a minute, and we'll be right back with coat number 3. Okay, coat 2 is now dry. Welcome back to the class. And we didn't take it down. I just simply force dried it right there with a pretty little fan on it. It was almost dry to begin with. But I would like for you to notice something. Look at the action that this has already with 2 coats on an unprimed board. So for those that are saying out there that, it's a lot of work and all of this, that's a lot of bull. It's no more work than what you saw right here. It's hanging on a wall. It's straight up right here. Matter of fact, when you get to a wall that is a wide open area, that's cake. That's your money area. What takes a lot of time in Venetian is when you have little bitty areas that you've got to recreate what you did in the big areas. That's what takes the time. And that stuff is effortless because it's just little nuances here and there. So the theory out there that, it's hard to do or whatever, that's ridiculous. It honestly is. If it was hard to do, I wouldn't be doing it, okay? So that being said, here we go. We're going to take a clean trowel once again, and we're going to put a small amount of material on the clean trowel. You practically will never want more than that, because if you do, that material will spread as you're going, and what will happen is it'll spread out to here, and now you got boom, 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 no action. Okay? So the trick is, once again, multiple overlapping patterns and your nuances, as you can tell these things that have begun to skip drag. And remember that in our technique, that as you put it on, it's burnishing the layer underneath, so it's giving you a reverse look. Okay? Now, that being said, as you begin to see things forming that are repetitious, here, 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 and here, maybe you want to change it up a little bit so that, you know, you don't just keep doing that. Remember that it's an overlapping, varied pattern. Okay, so that being the case, let's start up here and let's run a few this way and come from maybe left to right, okay? I've got a little high spot right there in the deal. I'm glad it happened, so I can show you how to fix that. We load a little material right from the wall, and we just cover it up, okay? Maybe you want to go over it a tiny bit. When you lay down material like this, and then you pick it up and you go back over, it also has a tendency to create nuance. In another series here, we'll show you how to do that. So, once again, overlapping patterns, we're going to vary it up a little bit, okay, so that it creates all kinds of fun stuff, okay? Now, I could push harder at this point on the trowel. I'm not going to, but I could push harder, okay? And I could create a lot of burnishing from underneath, but I'm not going to. Okay, once again, that's what's left on the knife. We're going to take another spatula once again, and we're going to take it off the knife. We're going to put that back in the bucket, or some people don't like to use their old stuff. We're going to scrape off the back of the knife, the edge of the knife again in the front. In other words, this is just a standard thing that you're always going to do. Then you're going to take your clean rag, once again, very carefully cleaning that razor sharp edge. And I want to explain something to you. As you do whole rooms, whole walls, whole houses, whole buildings with this, and you're using this blade, and you're doing, let's say, 3, 4, 5 coats, whatever your deal is, and you're doing that 8 hours a day, that blade right there is getting as sharp as the blade you shave with if you're a guy or a girl or whatever. Okay? It's sharp. We have sent guys to the hospital. I've been at the hospital with this stuff. We have cut ourselves big time. I can't emphasize enough how sharp that edge is from going over and over and over again. Now, that being said, that coat is done. That's the third coat. We left a little intentional here to cover a high point that was there. I'm glad that little things happen. You're going to see in this series that we don't fix the mistakes off camera. We're going to fix them on camera. And then as we begin to do the one-on-one sessions with you, what will happen is you're probably viewing this on your computer. I'll be at the computer also listening to your feedback, your worries, your concerns, your difficulties, or whatever. And I'll be producing another clip that will show you how to remedy your problems. Okay, so we'll let this dry in the Arizona sun, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, class. Now, I've rehung this. Hopefully, I put it back the way it was. I can't remember if these patterns were up here. I'm going to have to mark them so that nobody thinks out there that, you know, we're flipping it and trying to get a better angle on it or whatever. But what I do want you to notice is that if this is a 3-coater. We did run that little example burnish coat on the first one, which I shouldn't have done, because it does bring these out a tiny bit more, these raised lines that were there. But you're the artist. You can do that as you do sample boards. By the time you get done with 10 sample boards, you'll know what comes forward, what goes back, and you'll begin to learn how to control your movement, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, if your trowel's the right trowel. We like the ones with the short spine. As I told you, the Venice tool one from Italy, not the one from Taiwan. The amount of blade that's on the front end of this. There's a lot of different factors. We'll go over each one of them in a video. We'll do it in a slow time. So that this is about doing the sample board right now. We're at coat 3, and I want you to look at that. Right now, I could take that to any designer in town and sell that as a 3-coater. We could have done it at 2. Depends on what a customer wants as far as movement, but we're going to 5. Now, as you begin to do this, you see these little chunkers. I'm going to try not to burnish this. I'm just gonna lightly go over that and maybe take off some little bumps and nibs. Okay, I'm intentionally trying not to burnish so I don't bring anything out that I don't want to. We could take this right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a little piece right over here for you. So that you can see how I'm gripping this. I'm going to just simply go very lightly over this in a couple of directions. And as you can tell, it's beginning to burnish up quite nicely, even with 3. There's some other things that we can do, and we'll teach you in other series. We can make this like a sheet of glass. Now, it's not going to have that stone, I think they call it cold to the touch or cool to the touch, assuming that's what you want, like true Italian plaster. By the way, I love Italian plasters. If I had a bucket of it here, I'd be doing a side-by-side right here with you. Just, you know what I'm saying? It's not about that. It's about that this is locally available. You can run down to Home Depot, grab it off the shelf, throw up a sample board, put 5 coats on it, walk down to the designer, and sell this coating today and reproduce it tomorrow without even thinking about it. Okay, that being said, I've only done this little section up here. So that's a 3-coater. We're going to put coat number 4 on. So I haven't shown you what we apply onto the trowel with. We just want, once again, a little bit of material. You don't want tons of material, okay? That's the one thing you don't want. And you notice that the blade is clean again. Always. The cleanliness of this blade, front, edge, and back, is crucial. Okay, so I'm going to start, let's say, in the middle and work out or whatever, because I just want to keep it, random, okay? Now, there are a lot of different techniques to do this. In plastering, you can go this way and this way, put it on one direction and take it off the exact opposite direction. And what that does is it removes 90% of these stop and start straight lines. The stop and start straight lines happen because we're doing this number, okay? If you put it on one direction and you take it off the opposite direction, you notice how all the lines are jagged? Okay, so once again, you'll learn control after a while. But for right now, we want some of those straight lines mixed in with some of these jagged lines. So we're just going to let it be, okay? So I'm going to start here at the bottom, put it on, take it off. I'm going to keep it random, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, okay? And I'm going to do this super fast so that you can see what it's like in real time as we begin to do this, and you can see why this is a money system, okay? I'm talking a system you can go to the bank with, right? So that's the little thing that we have. Now my material's starting to dry out on the trowel, and we've used it up because we went a little quicker. There's a little spot over here. And we have a thing there. We won't fix that now. We'll do that on the next coat. But since I pushed a little harder, and since I was going a little bit quicker, this is going to go thinner, and it's going to go faster. It's going to go drier. And the burnishing from underneath, you'll notice that there's a shine beginning to develop because we were going faster. Speed on the trowel blade, touching on the smooth surface, is creating friction. The friction is creating heat. The heat is melting the resins in here and beginning to make different saturations of colors. I get asked constantly, I'm going to scrape this off again. I get asked constantly, do you use several colors on your website? No. There are a few examples of it. Once again, I'm cleaning off the edge very carefully. You won't cut yourself and end up in the hospital. Okay, making sure that everything's off. Okay? I'm going to set that down and talk to you while this is drying. They ask me all the time, do you use 2 colors? No. Do you use 2 tones? Do you have some white in it? No. All that's in this bucket I think it's called Lake Como. It's one of their standard colors. I've personally never used it. I love it. It's a great color. It's a great color to show example because of the light-dark situation. That is another series. Color choice is everything in movement control. Even though we use a light color, you wouldn't see all that you see right here because it's a deep, nice color. You're seeing a lot of action. Okay, so now that's coat number 4. Applied very rapidly, and I did that to show you that in real time how we do that. And now you notice that those little burnishing marks that we left at the beginning and those lines now are beginning to come forward, but they're coming forward from the back, and we're putting on fresh material on the front. And what's happening is there is a layering matrix beginning to develop. And when we get to coat 5 here, this is going to be full of that. And you know, nobody's breaking a sweat here. You could do this for fun. You could laugh while you're doing this. I'm doing this, and I'm doing an online virtual class, answering IM text messages, the phone. I'm putting it outside to dry. It really is quite effortless. Just don't overthink it. Now, that being said, one of those text messages that I was answering while this was drying was from our test student, and he said, Eli, you should tell the students that it's helpful to download this onto their handheld laptop or whatever device you use that you carry around mobily, so that they can review it over and over again during the course of the day, on the job site, if they have a question, whatever. By the time you get to the job site, to be quite honest, you're going to have this down. But it's great to be able to have as a reference until you do get it in your mind as a second nature. It's fantastic to be able to go back and review it. And now that you have taken the class and hopefully you've bought the support, you can text me, call me, email me, and if you have a question or a concern, or you don't understand something, or you want us to go slow-mo on something, just say so. I'll throw a board up. We'll get to a number of coat that you want. We'll go through the issues that you're having, and we'll make you a personal video, send it right back to you, no additional charge. So that's the key thing on buying the support. So I'm not trying to sell things here, but that's the way that we designed it at the very beginning. We wanted to be able to give you this lesson and explain it as very good as we can, the best that we can, so that you don't have to buy the support. But I highly recommend it. Because that way you can talk to me, and if you have a specific question, maybe something I didn't cover here, maybe something I didn't think of. I mean, I can't think of everything, and we're obviously not going to be able to cover everything that's learned in a career in one series. There's advanced series. There's mixing. There's waxing. There's burnishing. There's doing it with a spatula. There's how to get a 3-coater to look like a 5-coater. How to increase more of these actions on there randomly. There's so many things that you can do. It's a very powerful product. It performs, and that's why we use it. It performs. Okay, so that being said, this coat's almost dry. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes, actually. Shut this camera off and start it back up. I'm not going to take it down from the board, and we'll throw coat number 5 on there right there. Okay, coat number 4 is now dry, and I didn't take it down. I just simply turned the fan on it again. As you can tell, I'm sure from the video, I'll take that thing down in a minute and move it around, let you see it. As you can tell from the video, it's got an enormous amount of action to it, a lot, okay? And this is a great color to use because it shows the depth of the color and then the top coat. But you notice we have some little stuff here. Once again, you can go through and lightly, stress lightly, take care of those goobers if you don't want them in the finish. Some people want them, okay? It adds a whole nother dimension. It's something scraped off, whatever, something that's up there. You do what you want. Now, something that we didn't talk about. You can burnish this thing a little, just pass it over. These dark points are going to come forward, and we're going to lay fresh material again. You get a double burnish. You can do all kinds of things. We don't. We just do what we do 5 times, just like what you've seen. This is the 5th coat. And if you notice, we're starting to develop some unique features that I don't personally like. We have 1, 2, 3, and a little bit there, 4. And I've got 3 straight knife marks, 4 here, and maybe 1 more there and 1 up here. I don't like to see anything I can identify quickly. I like to really break it up. So on this last coat, I'm going to approach it from, different angles, once again, attempting to do away with that. And I won't stop and start like I've been doing so that we don't create difference in looks. You want, like painting, you want to maintain enough of a wet edge that you can consistently go across the wall. That's not as crucial. It isn't crucial in coat 1 through 4, but in 5, you want to maintain somewhat of a wet edge, or at least a continual wet going. Okay, so here we go. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to start, put it on, take it off, and you may see me go in a pattern that I didn't before. That's exactly what you want. Okay, and on this last one, you want to do a complete and total coverage, beginning to end, and you can put as much or as little of those things that you saw forming on this thing as you want. Okay, so we'll just add a little to the edge there. That's the way it ended up. I really don't even like it to do that, but on a 5th coat, when you're doing an overall and you're trying to set everything back, that's fine. So we're going to scrape that off right now once again, carefully. We're going to scrape it off. You'll learn how to do this fast in time and with practice. We like to have a little scrap box around, or a scrap board. Sorry about that, I got out of the camera view. And we want to scrape off that back edge and keep the tool clean. Watching the sharp edge once again so that you don't cut yourself. I can almost guarantee you, you're gonna. It just happens when you're working around blades. You're going fast, and the faster you go, maybe you'll dip it in a bucket of water one time and you'll do like this action with the drill, and I've split mine a few times. So unfortunately that does happen. Gloves help out. It's hard for me to work with gloves. Some of my assistants do, and they insist on them. So we're at coat number 5, class. I am so glad that you guys have decided to purchase the very first Behr Venetian, iVenetian virtual class. You got to watch me do coats 1 through 5, just like we do. Now I'm sure that you're seeing on the camera, like what I'm seeing. This looks just like my job sites. So I'm going to quickly take off the tape. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll shut the camera off, I'll take the little tape off, and I'll go hang it on the famous Behr Venetian wall. Okay, so I've taken it down off of the work area, and we've taken the protective tape, the 1-inch tape, off the edge. It was a black sample board, if you remember, when we started with coat 1. And congratulations, this is what you have on 5 coats of Behr Venetian Plaster. This is the first real sample done for a class. If you're watching this, then you're watching the video that created this sample. I hope that you enjoyed the series. There are many, many, many more to click onto and to enjoy. And hopefully this will give you an idea of what we do and why we do it and how simple it actually is. So once again, like I always do, it's hanging on the Behr wall because that's what we got around here. And that's why we use it. It's available, it's quick, it's easy, it's fast, there's no freight. They don't charge me to tin it. Now they don't charge you to tin it. It's fast for you, it's easy for you. You now know how to produce a 5-coat Behr Venetian Plaster, unburnished. Look at that. I mean, can you argue with that? I mean, I painted all my life, and I know I can't reproduce that except with a trowel and Behr Venetian Plaster. Okay? $31 a gallon. Now, take your sample board and go out and sell it. And that's a whole nother series. Thanks for downloading the class. It's been my pleasure to be your instructor. You have questions on this? Text me, instant message me, email me, or call me if you've bought the support package, and we'll answer any of your concerns, questions, difficulties, challenges, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for being a part of a revolutionary idea, Venetian Virtual Institute.